I'm here from Austin, and I'm a volunteer for IEEE, and we're glad to put in an international summit. The theme is about the smart city, and I know there's a lot of hype on this topic, and therefore we want to shed reality and also bring you experts from different areas, from different parts of the world. To give you their perspectives and different aspects of the smart city. What we hope that you will get out of this conference is a clear identification and comprehension of what smart city means. And what's important is the underlying technology. And I'm not just talking about general technology. I'm talking about disruptive technology, because it is the disruptive technology that's going to impact every area in our lives. And therefore, because it is a vast area, we wanted to make also focused approach to it. So we try to look at couple of areas that everyone goes through. Definitely your health, every day. If you are well-being, if you are eating well, and if you are healthy, then we want to ensure there's all tools and capabilities that help you to maintain that. Certainly, as you go to work and commute and get shopping and so on, there's transportation aspect of it. So certainly that area is, you are going through it every day of your life. So these two areas in terms of healthcare and mobility as key important area. And we dedicated 2 major sessions for that. We have actually 2 keynote speakers on these subjects. But also the whole notion, what's left in terms of your environment, your home, the temperature, the energy, the public safety, all aspects of these things that can fall into the rest of what I call it smart city. This is also will be addressed. So in other words, we try to compress all of these 3 areas in one day, but also the emphasis again is to emphasize and highlight how disruptive technology is going to impact these areas. So hopefully we'll find something useful at the end of the day, that you gain some insights, so that when you hear or read or talk to people, you have at least ways of discussing and raise questions. As I said, I'm volunteer for IEEE, so anyone that volunteer for IEEE, we don't get paid for anything. It's all volunteer time. I've been there for many years, over 15 years or so. And IEEE itself is the largest technical non-profit organization worldwide, over 421,000 members. It's across the world, 160 countries, divided into regions and then divided into sections. So we are part of the, as you see in the bottom part of the Central Texas section, and I'm also the chair of the Central Texas section. We have about 4,000 members that we serve, professional communities, and we give them the same thing as more of a condensed episode of what you are going through today. We run monthly meeting of different topics and bring in skilled speakers to talk about these types of areas and provide network opportunities. This is more of a highlight of what we do at the chapter level. So we have 32 chapters in Austin. And as you can see, IEEE is really in the forefront, not only in terms of societies. We have over 38 or 39 societies. So I am also chairing the Communication Society chapter in Austin, as well as the Computer Society, the EMBS in Engineering Biomedical, and the Signal Processing. So I chair 4 of the 39 chapters, but also IEEE have initiatives, which you can call it incubators. These are the ones that really they are watching the growth, and all societies actually participate in these things. As you can see, 5G, big data, brain, cloud computing are some of these big initiatives. And we're certainly getting the support from all of these initiatives in terms of this particular conference. The other thing we are producing as an IEEE, and this is something distinct from any other industry and academic approach. You could be bombarded with vendors pushing their tools and products and so on. We are vendor independent. We provide a neutral position, and we rely on showing how the standards is impacting. This is just one slide to talk about smart city in different areas. As you could see, the standards for IoT in the context of smart city, 5G, cybersecurity, smart home, e-health, and so on. Some of the things that we are also going through today. We have that poster actually in front. You can feel free to pick up a copy, but also we have similar posters or flyers covering different areas. For example, mobility, healthcare, and so on. You see quite a few of that in front. So the bottom line is that being not only feeding the professional community with information and networking and opportunities, but also we have a standards body that producing standards like Wi-Fi, all the way to Wi-Fi 6 and so on, and how these things interwork with things like 5G, and how this is becoming a part of the smart city initiatives. I mentioned the theme, but we to endorse the theme itself is that we have really worked hard to get you really visionary keynote speakers. We have with us Dr. Patricia Dorsey from Dell, and we have also John Cole. He's actually also visionary in terms of transportation. You'll see something really intriguing about that, and Dr. David coming all the way from Europe, he will talk about healthcare. And then we have in between specific sessions with at least a session chair and 5 speakers to talk about different subjects. And at the end of the day, we'll bring all the executives and then have an executive recap, and then invite everyone for a showcase of various initiatives by different companies that have really looked at the technology and looked at the market and produced something innovative for us to see. Anyhow, we do appreciate TAC and Dr. Dan Stanzioni for making that facilities available for us for today, as well as all the hospitality that they have always expressed. Certainly we have a long-term relationship between IEEE and TAC, and we appreciate that. So I'll actually, this is one slide I'll stop by, but in the next few minutes I'll ask Steve Elkins. He's the Chief Information Officer of the City of Austin. I asked him to give a few words, and followed by Dr. Dan Stanzioni, who will give you, the welcoming from the TAC itself. And then I'll just come quickly and recap of the program itself. So with that, I'll ask Steve to come forward. Sure.
Yeah, so I was asked to say a few words, but I wanted to first extend a welcome on behalf of the City of Austin, the mayor, the council, the city manager. I know that they would like to be here. Unfortunately, they were not able to be here. So again, I'm extending a welcome on their behalf. The other thing I'd like to do is, as we have these conversations throughout the day, there's 2 things I would like for you to keep in mind. One is inclusion, the other one is equity. And so, and we look at it from 2 sides. Problems need to be solved with inclusion. It's not a city problem, it's not a university problem, it's not a resident problem, it's a community problem. And so as we look at things that we're trying to solve, let's make sure we consider inclusion. And the equity side of this is, as we look at the problems that are being solved, that it benefits the city as a whole. It's not west of 35, it's not south of the river, it's the city as a whole. So we don't always look at, what things can we do to downtown Austin. The air quality downtown is just as important as the air quality east of 35. So again, equity and inclusion are 2 things that I would like you to consider as we have conversations about disruptive technologies, making sure that it serves all the communities, and that and as we look at solutions, that it's not placed on one entity, it's not placed on the university or the cities, but it's all of us working jointly together to come up with solutions to make our community a better community. So again, I do want to extend a welcome on behalf of the City of Austin, and I am going to ask Dan to come up and say some words.
Thank you, Steve. So good morning, everyone, and welcome. So I'm Dan Stanzione, and I'm the Executive Director here at the subtly branded Texas Advanced Computing Center, and the Associate Vice President for Research here at UT. And so on behalf of the University of Texas and on behalf of TAC, I'd like to welcome you here today. Thank you for joining us, and we're happy to be able to provide this space for this meeting to IEEE. I am an electrical engineer by training. All my degrees are in electrical, so I'm always happy to do IEEE things when we're here. Much of the problems of smart cities revolves around data and what you do with it. And so a lot of the data relevant to this stuff ends up here at TAC. We have a fairly large supercomputing infrastructure, and I invite you, if you've never been here before during the day, or even if you have, to get some tours. We'll have some demos in the lobby, but come back and see the facility. Either find me or one of the staff here during the course of the day or at the end of the day. But we host a number of very large-scale supercomputers, including Frontera, which we did with Dell this year. It's the biggest machine Dell has ever done. They were also happy for the $60 million check I sent last month. But
Thank you.
You're welcome. Associated with that, so it's not even close to all of our spending with you guys this year. But but it's the number 5 machine in the world. It is the fastest general purpose computer anywhere on the planet, and we've solved. We've run some simulations of a number of the largest computations that humanity has ever run just in the past 2 weeks on that machine. And what drives Frontera and the machines like it and the 100 petabytes of data that we have associated with it at the moment are really several things. The simulations of systems where we can build models, and where we don't have models, it's machine learning and deep learning, where we have a lot of data, but we don't have complete physical models. And then finally, in the age where we can acquire data so cheaply, digital data so cheaply from instruments, it's analytics of both very large-scale instruments, like the Large Hadron Collider, and the very distributed small-scale instruments, like all the traffic cameras in the city. And so one of my staff, Wei Zhizhu, and I should say, in addition to the infrastructure that we have here to do this, I'm also very fortunate to have a team of really outstanding individuals, about 180 that work here at TAC, that focus on how you might use this infrastructure to solve problems. And so Wei Zhizhu will be doing a demo of some work that he was presenting in Singapore just last Friday, where he and his collaborators at the Center for Transportation Research here at UT and in the Transportation Department at the City of Austin, on the use of deep learning to study sort of pedestrian interactions with cars, meaning near misses, but with traffic camera data here in the city of Austin. So gathering from thousands of traffic cameras, training it on what is a pedestrian versus a bike versus a car versus a truck, and looking at which intersections are the most hazardous and where we need to put interventions to improve those intersections. So and that team won Best Paper at the World Congress among, I understand, 400 papers. There were about 14,000 people there, and they won Best Technical Paper from North America. So he'll be showing off some of that work, but that's just one of the many ways that we interface in the smart cities area. Healthcare is one of the other large ones. We have a team joint appointed with the medical school here. And only because we have that team do I have an app on my phone that's tracking whether or not I'm pregnant. We're beta testing a healthy pregnancy app for, and measuring things like how much you move and pulse rate and if you're showing up at your doctor's office and things like that, among the myriad of things that your smartphone can tell us about you. You don't really want to know what all those are. So with that, I hope you enjoy the day and the program that Fawzi and the IEEE have put together. And once again, welcome to TAC. So thanks very much for coming. Fawzi.
All right, I'll not be long. So what I've outlined very quickly in a minute or so, here are the sponsors actually for supporting this whole initiative for today. So of course we talked about IEEE. Soon you'll hear from IEEE USA President in a minute or so. And in the middle you see IEEE Communication Society. They're the one that actually primarily financially sponsoring this summit. And then we're also thankful to have Samsung here in town to be able to support the summit initiatives. And as you can see in the bottom right of your screen, a number of societies, IEEE Smart City Initiative, Internet of Things, the Future Networks, which is 5G specifically, the Computer Society, CEDA, and we have the CEDA president with us also here, and as well as the Internet of Things, we have the chair of the conference that's coming in Louisiana in April 2020, will also be here tonight with us today. And then you have the Electronic Device Society, the Vehicle Transport Systems, and the Power and Energy, and the Women in Engineering. All of these guys are really, once we saw the program, they said, yes, we'll support you any way you go. And highlighted the TAC, of course, and the chapters that we're chairing, as well as the section itself here, and a number of other exhibitors, as well as, we have actually about 8 exhibitors as of today. And we have some media company that IHS, as well as Globe Austin, and the Chamber of Commerce have been very supportive for many years. It goes back about 8 or 9 years ago. Quickly, the agenda, as you can see here, will unfold. We are a few minutes behind, starting at 9 o'clock sharp with the, or about, with the keynote speaker for today, for the first session, or first section, Dr. Dorsey, Vice President and Global CTO for Sales and Dell EMC, and then followed by more deep dive sessions on the smart city. And then we have another keynote speakers, Dr. John Cole. He's the Chief Executive Officer of SkyTran. And you will hear a lot about that visionary approach of traffic management. And then you have a deep dive sessions on the mobility side of it. And then we have keynote speaker number 3. We'll really talk about healthcare, coming all the way from Europe. Dr. David, and he will really expand. He's the chair also of CEDA. He will expand on the work that they have been doing, as well as talk in general about the healthcare trends and some initiatives. And then we have a deep dive on the healthcare session itself. Then we gather together for a recap, asking the executive some key questions to share with us, and then having all opportunity for networking and look at some of the cool demos that we have installed for you. Nothing goes without really thanking the advisor committee and the organizing committee. I will not go by names, but you could see the list as it stated on the slides. I'd like especially to thank Abhay Samant. He's really working closely with TAC, organizing all the logistics and the slides and the programs and the food and networking and the exhibits and so on. So that's a great appreciation to go to them, to Abhay and his team. This is more of a detailed dive with some descriptive approach in terms of what we're aiming in each one, but we have a poster on that also outside, as well as in the email that you have received. Just run quickly with the keynote speakers. As I mentioned, the names here, they are at 9, 11:30, and 2:45. Then the session itself about Smart City. So I'm glad to have with us Chelsea Cody from City of Austin, but also involved heavily with the City of Austin and Austin City Up, and as well as Joel Meyer from Italy, who is actually, he and Rebecca Hammonds, Dr. Rebecca Hammonds, co-chair of the initiative, Smart Initiative for IEEE, as well as a number of other distinguished speakers. We have heard from Stephen Elkins, and then you'll hear from Konstantinos from Athens, Greece. He is actually second command in terms of the smart city. He will come on video as well, or hookup, remote hookup, as well as Victor Carlos, who will come from Mexico. The second sessions, chaired by Stan McLennan, and a number of distinguished speakers. Dr. Sin actually coming from Africa also, and he's a distinguished speaker for both IEEE and ACM. And Dr. Adam Dropot, as I mentioned, he's the chair of the World Forum IoT, and he will also be speaking. And I'll moderate with him also in the executive recap sessions. And as you can see, a few people, few distinct speakers from different areas, from academic, Dr. Mark, and then transportations and mobility. Both Eric and Darren will be there. And the last group is headed by Dr. Sanin Nassif, who has been really a great friend of us. He was the past also president of CEDA, and I co-chair with him the last session that we had here a couple of years ago about healthcare and technology. But he assembled a nice group and distinguished practitioner and academia in the arena of healthcare. So you will hear an interesting approach from each one of them. So you will see a variety of information. These are the companies that actually will have for a showcase. National Instrument will have a nice showcase about 5G, UT Austin about autonomous robotics, and then Texas State have a couple of demos, and then DAC will have an interesting demo, and then Housing Authority, as well as the ArtFog Art Academy will also have a demo. So I think that's the program, as you can see here, quite rich, condensed in one day, but it is better to get that overview flavor before we're looking next year of how we can expand that and add some academic content to it, so that could provide some balanced approach to it. So with that, I would like to now move to the next sessions, and that will be the anyhow, having our chair of IEEE USA, President Dr. Tom Coughlin.